We're getting background noise, guys. So I don't know if we're checking to see who's talking and maybe have some background. Go ahead, Mike.
Two people, Rick, had their hands raised. I don't know.
We'll do an arm wrestling competition if that happens.
Okay.
So that we can,
Rick Capetti, I think is his name.
Rocky.
Yeah. Yes. And the question is?
I don't know. I don't see
because I requested them to raise their hand. So I did no exercise. Sorry, maybe you weren't hearing on the exercise.
Okay.
Exercise was just for them to actually test the ability to give thumbs up and also give applause. And if they are doing some, there's the chat at the bottom. There's like 18 different messages there.
Yeah, there's the chat.
So I believe we have a few people that Bob is maybe going to help us out with that, and Ed, please make sure we're monitoring the chat so that we can respond and quickly be alerted to any questions that they have. All right. So it is 6:01 and we like to start on time. So welcome to the South Florida PMI. This is our weekly event that we've been having. And I can tell you that there's been over 1,200 in the last 5 weeks. So we've been breaking records here at the South Florida PMI, uniting with all kinds of organizations to make sure we're giving back. So very proud. So we want to kick it off with our own Jean-Luc to introduce a little bit more about the PMI. Jean-Luc? Jean-Luc?
Yep, thanks, Rick. My name is Jean-Luc Kaus. I am the VP of Membership, and I'm going to give you a 2-minute overview of the value of being a chapter member. So essentially, PMI is a global organization, and we as the PMI South Florida chapter, we're your local resource, and we're here for really to ensure your success. So whether it's professional development, connecting with recruiters, assisting in career opportunities, and we have some of our board members that are connected to project managers across the world. So I'll give you just a little bit about me. I've been a chapter member for 8 years, and I joined as I was taking a PMP prep class, and the teacher said that the best advice she could give any student, anybody that's is going to take the project management career seriously, that joining the chapter would be the best place to be. And that was by far the best advice I ever received. And so to become a chapter member, you first have to be a PMI Global member. That's the first step. And yes, that's a little bit more pricey. It's around $125, but the resources that you can use as a project manager are unbelievable. The projectmanagement.com website, I work on multi-million-dollar projects that most of the templates that I use are free of use, and I use them on everyday projects. Awesome resource, and some people don't know it's there. And on top of that, for the PMI South Florida chapter, it's a couple dollars a month. And if any of you out there are PMI Global members and not chapter members, I can give you a free guest pass to join for the year. No strings attached. We just want you to discover the value of being a chapter member. And if you want to reach out to me on that, you can just email me at membership@southfloridapmi.org. And I realize that we're facing this pandemic. Some of you are having financial difficulty out there. And so for those of you who are finding difficulty to renew your global membership, I recommend that you reach out to PMI Global, their customer care. They're open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Best time to call is early morning or later in the evening. But they're making arrangements to lessen the burden, the financial burden. So instead of dropping your membership, they're making arrangements for you to be able to keep it. So it's a lot of value for you to use it. So I'll highlight briefly what you get as a chapter member. You get discount on classes, whether you're pursuing certifications. We host conferences, different events once we get past the pandemic, and they all save you dollars to join. So basically, you'll be paying the membership on its own, and all this earns you PDUs. It's a great opportunity to network with PM professionals from across different industries that we have here in Florida. And it's not just about building your LinkedIn profile, but really making connections to build quality relationships. And the last piece of that makes a great value is volunteering opportunities. Not only do you earn PDUs as a volunteer, but you can learn as you work in leadership roles. You can learn and develop your leadership and management skills. Opportunities to meet other chapter leaders across the United States and also attend national conferences. There's so many opportunities that I'm always discovering new things of how I can grow in the profession and keep my success going. So going back to my case scenario as to what is a personal difference that having been a chapter member has made for me is that for most of us, when we work on projects, we drive project efforts, we deliver results for organizations. But in my case, and in that of others as well, or maybe a smaller set, we become the business drivers that help to define the organization's direction. So it's moving from you're getting things done to advising what projects will drive business success. That's been my chapter experience. And what could that look like for you? It's for you to take the next step. So thank you very much and enjoy tonight's webinar.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jean-Luc. And we've known each other for a long time. Jean-Luc has been a member of the South Florida PMI probably the same time I started. And it's all about giving back to the community. It's all about helping others. So it's really humbling to have a leader like that in the organization. Thank you, Jean-Luc. Talking about leaders, there's another person here by the name of Mike that I met also a long time ago at one of those PMI events where he's there, you know, displaying his skills to the world, right? There he was talking about the same topics that he's talking about today, but now he's at the next level. It's very impressive how many people follow him. He's one of my role models. I've learned a lot from him sitting in on some of those sessions that he gives out. I'm really excited that he's going to present to us and give us a lot of feedback. And I even love his title. First lead yourself, then lead others. How hard is it to lead yourself, right? So I'm excited to actually kick him and have him present today. Mike Kublin. It's all yours, Mike.
My God, thank you so much, Rick. And it's been a pleasure all the years that I've known you personally and quite a few of the members. And to your point, I have not spoken to PMI in a little while. Some of my team members have, Marilyn Brown and Francisco Matos. So I thank you for inviting me to be here. First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here. Okay, this is on top of everything that's going on in the world today, and everybody's stressed. We all know that. Project managers obviously are such a critical leadership role, and I think Jean-Luc and Rick, you guys put it perfectly. Leadership is a process; it's not an event. How do you take things to the next level? You know, Rick mentioned the next level. All of you are leaders. Our inherent belief at People Tech is that everyone on the planet is a leader. Now, I've gotten a lot of fights with people about that belief. However, I've seen it. I've seen people that empower themselves and others to go where they've never gone before, and they wouldn't necessarily go unless they stretch themselves. So I appreciate the energy, effort, and emotion of all of you for being here tonight to take yourself and empower yourself to go where you've never gone before. And we're talking about a subject that's really interesting because how many people measure themselves? How many people take a scan, a real honest assessment scan of the highest risk project you've ever worked on, the project of you? And if we don't take that scan of us, or we may not get feedback from others, sometimes we're missing some critical information in order to take our skills, our career, and our talents beyond where we never thought possible. So for the next 6 hours, I'm kidding. We're only going to be here for about an hour and a half. So for the next hour and a half or so, I thank you for putting your energy, your effort, and emotion into learning about the importance that soft skills are. Prior to me getting on the phone for the last couple of weeks. I've been interviewing some project managers, and I Googled also, let's face it, Google has all the answers. And I Googled, what are some of the major problems that project managers face? What is it that you all face? And I was so cool that the list came up. The number one thing was lack of trust. And it's like a major thing within organizations that people don't trust each other. So the project manager, and you all have the hardest job in the world to manage major implementations for organizations. And it's such a crucial role. Soft skills, believe it or not, are the way we build trust. And so I hope one of the goals of today is that you leave with one thing that you're going to hear today that you can implement in your job tomorrow, starting tomorrow, that will take and empower yourself and others to go where you've never gone before. So I want to talk about the objectives of today, of tonight. We're going to do an icebreaker. Rick talked about icebreakers. We love icebreakers, and we're going to do one. We're going to have some reflections on that icebreaker, talk about it, and really want to hear from you all. We'll hear from a few. We can't hear from everybody because you had such a great turnout here. And then we want to look at today's focus and what would be your next steps. There are a couple of handouts that you're going to get. One is a compass, a leadership compass, where you could begin to measure yourself in areas that we're going to talk about tonight. And it's complimentary, it's free. If there's any questions on it ever, you can obviously send me an email or a note. But I'm going to give you some tips on how to fill it out as we go through tonight, so that you can start not only getting your own impressions, but getting others' impressions. But just starting with your own is a really good way to start. So we want to learn why soft skills are the most critical and considered what I call the common denominator. I've been doing, like Rick had mentioned, speeches like this for many, many years at all levels. One of People Tech's goals is to enter business from the time a person enters the business world and we want to coach them until the time they leave. As I mentioned, we believe everyone is a leader. They just may not have the tools, techniques, and methods in order to take their skills and empower themselves and others to go where they've never gone before. So there's a series of tools, and you wouldn't go to a gym and build your muscles just once. You wouldn't go to a gym and do kettlebell swings, deadlifts, push-ups, sit-ups. You wouldn't go once and think you got it. Why do we think all over the world that soft skills would be any easier? How we influence people, how we handle conflict, how we handle change, how we handle communication, how we build trust. Why would we think that those skills would be any easier to build those muscles? Because they are muscles. They're muscles that our brain activates and gets a chance to use when we develop them. And if we never start to develop them, they don't get developed. And if we keep doing the same thing, you know, I know my coach at the gym says, Mike, if you keep swinging the same weight kettlebell, you're going to get the same result. So he always says that the higher weight one is kryptonite to me. So, you know, sometimes you need a coach to push you along. And so it's good to have a mentor. It's good to have a coach. And it's good to have someone that can give you feedback in a healthy, honoring, and respectful manner that you can trust. So we want to understand that importance of self-reflection, why it's so critical, and why it's important, maybe self-reflection, to give a little bit of a push from peers like you have in this organization, from mentors that you have outside, mentors that you have in the companies that you work in, mentors in other companies, coaches that you go to give feedback and to help you with your career goals and objectives. So feedback in this process is an absolute must, and we want to talk about that. What kind of feedback? We want to know why feedback is so critical, and it needs to be given in a healthy, honoring, and respectful, nurturing manner. Sometimes that's not easy because people, you know, including myself, don't want to hear certain things. But we have to have feedback. So you have to have people around you that you can trust to give you that feedback. We're going to give you this assessment tool that I spoke about. It's called the compass. There's a brief picture on it behind me, but that compass is yours. You take it later and you'll be able to measure different areas of where you think you're at, and maybe ask a couple of your colleagues, maybe ask your mentor, where do they think you're at with it? And we want to commit to changing one thing today that's going to benefit you in your career, in your job tomorrow. So without further ado, I'm going to go forward. Here we go. We're going to start with an icebreaker. And if I could get the screen to move, it'd be okay. There we go. So I want you all to answer these questions. Take about a minute and answer some of these questions. And everybody that has share screen should be able to see it. It is a document you'll be getting, and I'll share the PowerPoint slides later so you can do this with the teams you work with as well. Give it another 30 seconds. All right. So I'm going to ask for a volunteer here. Would anyone volunteer to share with the rest of the couple hundred probably people that are on the call here? Would any one person be willing to share, or one or two or three of you? If you raise your hand, Rick or Natalia.
Yes, I'm looking for them now. I'm looking for a hand to raise. So if anybody wants to volunteer to share their information, please raise your hand and I will pick. There's several things I have to scroll down. Okay, I've got one hand. Gopal, can you please unmute your, go ahead. Did I pronounce your name right?
Gopal.
Gopal, sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. Thank you. So I'll start with one item that is here. I'm hearing some background.
Yeah, I'm hearing background as well. Gopal, are you the only one talking?
I just stopped talking until, because it is not coming from me.
Gotcha.
All right, I'll keep going. So I'll pick one item from here. This is, since we are talking about project management, we have to work with people. You know, from my perspective, I think most people are want to contribute, whether it's to the project, whether it's to the organization, whether it's to their family, whether it's to the society. That's what I believe in.
So your belief is that people want to contribute. They want to contribute to society, to the project, to the company. They want to be involved.
Absolutely.
Good one.
Right.
Anyone else willing to share? Would anybody share all of theirs?
Patricia has her hand up. Would you like to share? Go ahead and unmute your line.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am the youngest of three. I am the only girl. To pass time, I like to read and meditate. Other people would describe me as organized. The world would be a better place if only people would be kind. And I believe a true friend is loyal. My favorite food is, and I hate to say this, but pasta, anything with pasta. And I wish I could change, that's a good one. Maybe not being so much of a procrastinator, but I tend to do good under pressure. So yeah.
And I'm sorry, who was that? Was that Beth?
That's Patricia.
Patricia. Thank you so much. It's great. And Gopal, thank you too. Anyone else willing to share?
So we've got Bob that has raised your hand. Bob, go ahead.
So I am the oldest sibling in my family. To pass the time, I like to find things to do because there's never time to just pass the time. I think most people are honest. They try to be, and people describe me as gregarious but sincere. That's all I got.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much, Bob. Anybody else?
I'm looking around. We have Susie. Susie, would you like to unmute your line? Okay, that's okay, Susie. Going once, go ahead, you're almost there.
You're talking to me? I'm
Yes.
Suzanne.
You had your hand up, but I don't know if that was a
I was
mistake.
playing with my hair, but
Not a
I'm
problem.
very
Not a problem.
shy.
No, that's okay. What about, that's okay, we'll get you another time. What about AET? I don't know how.
Yeah,
pronounce that.
my name's Ara. That's my
Okay.
initials. Yeah.
Okay.
So I am the middle of 3 brothers. And to pass the time, I like to play tennis competitively. So I enter tournaments frequently. And not now, but in the past. I think most people are approachable. I think that's what I view people as. And other people describe me as tough or driven. I was kind of torn between 2. I think our world would be a much better place if we only listen to each other. True friend is golden. My favorite fruit is chicken enchiladas, so, which I miss. I have not had a chance to get them, and I'm looking forward to going back to get them. And I wish I could change me. I don't think I'm the best version of myself, and I think I could be better. So I want to change me.
Very, very cool. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Anyone else?
I do not see any other hands up. Let me, there's a lot of scrolling that I have to do here because there's a lot of people.
I'm
on the
sorry,
group.
Rick. There's so many people.
That's okay.
Well,
Gabriel, we have another Gabriel.
Hello?
Yes, go
yes,
ahead.
Gabriel.
Hey, how you doing? Well, I'm the youngest sibling in my family. I have an older brother. To pass the time, I enjoy spending time with my family, my girlfriend, and my dog. My dog is in the competitive Frisbee team, right? That's a different one to have. I think most people are actually scared to like open up with others. People describe me as being honest and open. Our world would be a better place if we were to actually listen and just as AET, I forgot his name, sorry, said, but to listen to each other honestly and understand different points of views. A true friend is someone who is honest and will always be there for you, even in rough times or in great times. My favorite food, although I try not to eat it as much, it would probably be pizza. And something I would change, that's definitely a hard one because I don't even know if any change would be a good thing because you never know what the outcomes would actually be. So I wouldn't know what to answer for that one.
You wouldn't want to, because you wouldn't know what would happen next.
Exactly.
Typical project manager, you can't plan it.
Exactly. It's the butterfly effect. You make one change and then you don't know what happens after.
Got it. Thank you all for sharing. Let me ask the group here. This is an exercise you could take back and do with your teams. Why is it important, or how was it doing this? And I please thank you so much for having the courage to speak up in this group here and share, and honestly come from your hearts. I felt that from everybody. What is a reason why we would do these kind of things?
So just raise your hand and I'll pick on you guys. Zoime, am I saying that right? Zoime? Zoima? Zoima, you would like Zoima, would you like to unmute yourself?
There you go. Can you hear me?
Yes, go
yes.
for it.
Okay.
Yes, Zoima.
So one of the purposes, I think, of this exercise is that it allows us to get our guards down and just kind of share from a more open place, things that we probably never thought we had in common with others. So when I heard Gabriel's answers, I almost laughed because half of them matched exactly what I had written down for myself. So now we almost feel like, even though I've never met him in person, there's something we have in common.
I love it. I love it. I thank you so much for sharing that, because the open self, and it will go and tie into what we talk about. So again, why is that so critical for a team to find out the commonalities and find out the differences?
Looking for hands. Trying to pick on other people. I don't see any hands yet. Hold on. Okay, I see one. Monique.
Am I on mute? Off mute?
No, you're off.
Yes,
Go ahead.
you're off mute.
Well, hi Mike, it's great to see you again. I remember working with you in a couple of PDDs. Thank you
Oh,
for
thank you.
this. So two things that stood out to me, especially for virtual teams. I think this is good at relationship building, particularly because we don't get to see each other and interact with each other face to face. So commonalities will stand out as it allows people to engage, and differences also is something that's important, because it would be intriguing to another person to understand what differences are in parts of the group. So for those reasons, I think this has a lot of value.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head, particularly in the times that we're in right now. Anyone else want to add? Okay, I'm going to move on, because you hit it right there, and I want to talk about the Johari window before I go back to the other slide. The Johari window is, some of you may have heard of it before. It's by Joseph Luff and Harry Ingram. And they studied people. And on the top part of the chart, what they said is people have info about themselves and others have input about people. And so up on the top part of this chart that they created together, they have info that's known to self and not known to self. So they have self-knowledge on the top part of the chart. And on the side of the chart, they have others' knowledge. What do others know? And one of you just said, yeah, the open self is so important, because we've got to be able to share, particularly our vulnerabilities, because the more we're able to do that, the more we know each other. And in times of this crisis, this even gets more important. What happens is, we know for a fact, after studying leaders for the last 30, 40 years, at least that I've been doing it, that the leaders that are able to be open, so that's knowledge that's known to self, and they're able to let others know it, they increase the open self. They're able to become vulnerable with people, and it's because they increase their level of trust with the people that they work with. And by demonstrating that they're able to be open and vulnerable, they give permission to other people to be open. So icebreakers are a good way to get to know yourself, but also get to know others, and then them get to know you, and you get to know them. This is an example of one, and I have no issue sharing others with anybody that wants some, but feel free to use this one and then debrief it with the teams that you work with, particularly over Zoom. There's nothing wrong with this. Obviously, we have quite a few folks on tonight, so it makes it more difficult. Most of the teams that you work on, I don't know, that are 200 or so people, but so info that's known to self, known to others, that's what Joseph Luff and Harry Ingram called our open self. There's also info that's known to self, but not known to others. And we call that our hidden self. Let's face it, as much as I may get to know you, until I trust you a little bit more, I may not release that information to you, so I won't share it with you. So if you look at the bottom of this chart, there's a trust bar. Some people approach trust, I trust all the time. Some people approach trust, I don't trust any of the time. And, you know, being good project managers, you guys want evidence, you know, before you begin to trust usually. And that's not a bad thing. The dilemma is, what if you overuse that? Because it's a gift of yours to find out the real info, which you need to do to be a great manager. But at the same time, if you overuse it and you use it too much, people may be hiding things. And so what you want to do is decrease your hidden self and let other people decrease their hidden self by building a trusting environment. And whether we like it or not, the project manager is the owner of a lot of these things, whether it's signified in a writing or implicitly. And again, I looked up some of the common issues that project managers face, and right under trust and lack of trust was conflict and tension. There's a lot of conflict, there's a lot of tension. Well, the best way to work on conflict is to get a team to have healthy, honoring, and respectful conflict. Well, how do you do that? Well, that's a process. That's building muscles. It doesn't just happen by mistake. A lot of organizations think, well, if I get the technical things down and I get the processes down, the project management process and the project management technical, that trust is going to be, it's just going to happen by itself. Conflict's just going to, healthy, honoring, and respectful conflict's just going to happen. And that's not the case. Not sharing of information was the third thing that came up as an issue. Low engagement. Well, not sharing of information is going to create low engagement. So those areas of the hidden self and reducing the hidden self would open it up to share information. So your job as project managers is to get people to feel comfortable to open up. Now, we might say, well, that's somebody else's role. And we might be correct. Somebody else officially has that role. However, everybody's expecting the project manager to do it. And so because of those expectations, and because we want to be the best project managers on the planet, we want to raise our level that we're the leaders that are empowering people to go where they've never gone before. So we reduce the hidden self and give people permission to reduce it without punishment. The third area of the Johari window is info on the top that's not known to self, but is known to others. That's an odd one. What info is known to self, but others, I'm sorry, known to others, but not known to self? It's known to others, but not known to self. That's wild. How do other people know it? We don't know it. Well, generally where this comes from is a blind spot, and in doing leadership development for many, many years, using assessments, tools, 360-degree feedbacks in our processes, we find out that the blind self mainly comes from strengths. When you overuse a strength, it becomes an Achilles heel. And sometimes it punches us so hard, we're a little bit afraid and ashamed to share it because it disses our main strength. Would anybody here be willing to share feedback with this group that they got from a trusted boss, a trusted colleague, a trusted partner in life, that they got that they didn't really necessarily want to get, but somebody told them that feedback, they gave them the feedback, and it benefited their life significantly? Would anybody share that with this group? Do I have a volunteer?
I'm gonna look for hands. So far, I don't see too many people, but let's see. I have to scroll. I don't see that. Oh, she's raising her hand. Suzanne, go ahead. You're raising your hand, but you're not doing it to the tool, but that's okay.
Okay, so I'll confess. I'll be the one. So somebody told me once that I should wait before I respond to an email, because sometimes I get upset and I will respond too quickly, or I might say the wrong thing or do something too rash, and it might come out wrong. My feelings, I might be too emotional. So it was good advice. It may not have been what I wanted to hear, but it was great, because now I try to wait before I respond. So it was good. But that's it.
So now it was good advice. Do you mind asking who it was that gave you that feedback?
I'm trying to remember.
It doesn't, you don't have to give me the name. Was it a boss? Was it a peer?
I think it was a couple of people.
It was a few people. No worries. It's awesome. I so much appreciate you sharing. Thank you so much, Suzanne.
And now, you know what I do now? Sometimes I'll like double check and I'll go, does this sound mean? Does this sound bad? If I type this, I'll call random people and I'll go, if I write this, does this sound like I'm being like, you know, a BI, whatever? But because sometimes over text or over email, it doesn't really sound the way you want it to sound. It sounds, you know.
Fabulous feedback. And let me ask you something. Do you believe, or could you cite the strength that you were overusing to get that feedback? Because it actually comes from a strength. Would you be able to cite it?
What, my strength?
Yes. What is your strength, do you feel? And how did that manifest itself by you technically overusing it? I'm
very aggressive.
You're a get it done project manager.
Yes.
You're assertive, you're aggressive, you're enthusiastic about your role, you care.
Take control kind of person. So
pat yourself on the back, because that's what we call magic dust. We call it magic dust in people tech. Your magic dust is you're assertive, you're directive, you care, you're passionate, you want to get it done, you want to be results oriented. And if you overuse that, it can get in the way.
Yeah, I could.
And was it a blessing for whoever these people were that told you this?
It was a blessing for them sometimes when they didn't get my email. Yeah.
Got it. So it was good. It's good. I so much thank you for sharing in this group. It took so much courage to become vulnerable and open, and I thank you. Would anybody else be willing to share that kind of info? Thank you. Do we have any other volunteers?
Okay, we have Zoe.
Go ahead.
Zoe?
Yes, this is Zoe again. One of the feedback items that I've gotten in the past had to do with my honesty in giving my opinion about things, whether it's to friends or work. And one person was able to explain to me that if I did it in a more gentle fashion, it might be received better.
That is awesome, awesome news. What did you do with it after you got this info?
I started thinking about phrases that I could use to kind of hold myself in check. So if, for example, somebody asked me, you know, how do I look in this outfit or whatever, I start using phrases like, how about if we, you know, tweak this hair and, you know, make it more of a thought process for them to get involved in, as opposed to me saying, no, that doesn't look good at all on you, kind of thing.
I love it, love it, love it. So what do you think is the strength that you overuse because you use it too much and it got in your way in these instances? What is the strength?
Being direct and what, you know, I would consider straightforward, forthright.
Exactly, direct, straightforward. So again, a good thing can turn into an Achilles heel. Now here's the thing that's beautiful, that I've been doing this for many, many years. I've got 30, 40 coaches that I work with around the world. And we haven't met a person on the planet yet, not one, that doesn't have strengths and doesn't have an Achilles heel. And I don't care what age they are, and I don't care what level they are. I don't care if they're CEOs. I don't care if they're presidents. I don't care if they're entry-level folks. The issue is not everybody knows what their strengths are and what happens when they overuse it. So if you do anything in your life, please figure this out, because it's the thing that will empower you to go where you've never gone before. Now, the two folks that shared, I thank you so much, because as leaders, if you become vulnerable like that and share with others, they gave you feedback that you were blind to at first. So you created a team that gave healthy, honoring, and respectful feedback. You can create a team by becoming open with that kind of information, expanding the open self, reducing the hidden self. What happens is they gave you feedback in a healthy, honoring, and respectful manner. And as Patrick Lencioni says, you must have conflict that is people are able to give and receive feedback. If they're not, your team will not be cohesive like it needs to be, and you'll have trust issues. And we can measure those trust issues because there's instruments that do it. And healthy teams are able to scan, and not only the individuals, they're able to scan the team and make sure that it's moving in the right direction. So again, we want to expand the open self. We want to reduce the hidden self. We want to reduce the blind self for everyone on the team. And we want to really get into the unknown self, because everybody I interview, all the companies, all the CEOs, what do you want? We want growth. We want creativity. We want innovation. We want agility. Well, unless you go into the unknown self, which is not known to self and not known to others, you got to have a healthy, honoring, respectful team to even go there. You're not going to really get the full magnitude of your asset. And people are your most important asset. And whether we as project managers like it or not, we're responsible to help people build these teams. Whether it's on paper that we're responsible or it's implicitly declared, people are looking for us to do this, to fill these roles as leaders and guide these processes. So thank you for the two folks that shared. I just so much appreciate it. I want to show this picture. This is a picture of my family. My father's in the center here. My mom, my nephew, my son, and Jean, who's a member of our family, and myself. And this was taken about a few months before my father's 90th birthday. At his 90th birthday, about 6 months before that, I said to my father, who was in a terrible, terrible car accident in 2002, where he lost an arm and lost a leg and became paralyzed from C3 down. And I said to him, how do you maintain such a fabulous demeanor? How do you maintain that everyone gets your 100% full attention? How do you maintain that you build relationships and make everyone feel like they're the priority and that you're listening and you're deeply listening? And we heard from earlier that listening is an important thing that people want. And that they feel like you're the one that's paying attention to them, and you don't get mad, you don't get angry, and you've been in this chair, which is an electronic wheelchair, and only able to move one hand for all these years. And he gave me an answer. I said, what's the answer? He said, I made a decision. I said, what? He goes, I made a decision. I said, is that a spiritual thing? What do you mean you made a decision? He goes, I decided that I would never, ever, ever again let anyone or anything get in my way of happiness, joy, and peacefulness. It won't happen. And I'm going to show up, be present, be in the moment, and not let anything get in my way. Now, he was going up to the virus. He was going to work every day. He's 91 now. He's going to work every day, shows up at work. And everybody knows him like this. So I started to think about that. Where have I not made a decision on how am I going to show up? It's up to each one of us here to make a decision on how we want to show up and how we want to lead these teams. We can't leave it for anyone else. We have to take 100% accountability that no matter how bad everything is, and that goes for right now with the viruses going on and such, we have to have a liberating belief system. I don't know how many people have heard about our belief system. There's liberating beliefs and there's limiting beliefs. Liberating beliefs free you. You're responsible for everything you're thinking, doing, feeling, believing, happening. And then there's limiting beliefs where we've lost control. It's not in our power. We don't know what's going on. We don't know how to show up. And so we have the power to develop the muscles of liberating my beliefs. And my father hit one of the most important skills, which is making a decision. If you want to have relationships with people at work, you make a decision to have relationships at work. So thank you for sharing about the open, blind, hidden, and unknown. That's where they say true creativity lies. If you do anything, study it, study yourself in these 4 quadrants. Everything is based on a series of tools. And obviously tonight, in the 6 hours we're going to be together, I'm kidding, the hour and a half we're going to be together, we're not going to be able to learn all of the tools, but awareness is at the top of the compass. We call it a compass. You're going to get the compass, and you're going to get a chance to measure yourself in these areas. Magic dust, the talent that you bring to any organization, no matter what age you are, from the time you enter business, time leave. The issue is, do you know what it is? Do you know what your magic dust is? Do you know what happens when you overuse your magic dust? How it gets in the way? We've heard 2 examples today. I'll give an example of mine. I got some feedback back in the 80s that they said, Mike, I was leading a large IT team in voice, data, LAN, and production control. And they said, Mike, you're a visionary, you're motivating, you're inspiring, you're good with relationships. But they said, you're wishy-washy. You don't hold people accountable. This kind of punched me hard. I had no idea what they're talking about. And so I did some self-awareness. I hired a coach. They didn't call them coaches back then. They were consultants. And they, through a series of different instruments and tools, which are widely out there, which some of them you may have taken, like Myers-Briggs, DISC, listening, these other tools, emotional intelligence now, many tools like that. And we're able to point out that, you know, Mike, being good with relationships, being good at motivator, inspirator, very enthusiastic, you overuse that, you can come across as trying to please everybody. And so I needed to surround myself with people that were going to give me feedback so that because I didn't even know when I was doing it. Like we talked about the 2 individuals that shared tonight, they did recognize it, and that's awesome. And now I'm able to more recognize it, but some of us don't even know we're doing it. Dr. Abe Fischler, who started NOVA in the in the mid 70s, and he attended my program when he was 80 years old. And he said, Mike, there are things I wished I would have learned in my 30s and 40s because I would have made many, many different decisions. And it was holding me back, and I didn't even realize it. And so no matter when it is, that's why I go back to making the decision that you're going to build these muscles. You're going to build your relationship muscles. You're going to build your leadership muscles. And it's not just going to the gym once. It's going to the gym every day. So John Luke pointed out some phenomenal things that the chapter does and that the national does, all this database of templates and other things. And it's the same thing we got to do with our people, with our soft skills. Then there's the vision, mission, goals, measures, equal behavior, V, M, G. Where are you at with your vision? If you don't have a vision, a dream, an aspiration, a strategy of getting there, top 3 goals that you can measure on a personal basis, you're probably not going to be as effective with everybody else. So you need a business one and you need a personal one. You could have multiple, but you definitely need one vision for yourself. And then you communicate around it with clarity, with accountability. You're able to handle conflict in a healthy, honoring, respectful manner. And I'll throw this out there, without conflict, there is no leadership. it's another touchy one because a lot of people say, oh my God, I don't like conflict, and it's always going to be negative. That's not the case. As Lencioni says, if you don't have this conflict, particularly the healthy point where before it comes dysfunctional, you're going to have a team that is not pushing the envelope enough to get you to where you need to go. So it's up to each of us to create an environment using icebreakers, tools, assessments. You can get some off the shelf. You can get some that are free online. The issue is to keep building the muscles. Don't just let the muscles get weak. It's each of us our responsibility. At that point, you're going to be showing your influence. And any project manager that can show influence is going to be a phenomenal project manager. And your career trajectory is going to skyrocket. Your relationships are going to improve. Why? Because you're going to have more honest, authentic relationships. You're going to be more servant leaders with each other. And you're going to be able to give and receive feedback like in a healthy, honoring, respectful way, and be known as the inspiration for everybody. So the compass gives you a chance to measure where you're at in each one of these areas. And then you can get more finer and finer measurement with tools and things. I mentioned this book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni. I know a lot of you have probably heard about it and read about it already, but I'm going to walk through it. If you look at the base, it's trust. And again, in the research that I did, lack of trust is crucial to the team. And project managers, if you look into it, they're responsible to build the trust, whether we like it or not. Unfortunately, all of us are accountable to it. And that's the foundation of everything. Nothing can happen if you don't have that. So to get it, it's becoming vulnerable. It's doing icebreakers, assessments, things like emotional intelligence tools, Myers-Briggs, DISC, listening, conflict. Why do we believe in tools and people tech? Why? Because the tools are able to help people become more open, discussing the results with each other. And when you discuss the results with each other, you get more healthy, honoring, and respectful dialogue that's safer. I don't know, is Francisco on? Francisco, are you on the call?
Yes, I am.
Do you want to add anything to what I've talked about so far?
No, I think that you have covered pretty much the topics we also cover during our program leadership journey. And the foundation layers that you put up here are pretty descriptive, right? I'm actually, let's continue. I have a couple of things that later I'd like to contribute to.
Sure, I'll come back to you. Thank you.
So Mike, I have a question in reference to trust, because it's funny, I think this is an awesome tool to use. Vulnerability, the first one, and I don't know if you're gonna dive deeper into that, but I had a group just the other day. I said, hey, let's do a vulnerable exercise. Everybody put up, things that you feel that, you didn't do as great. And no one put anything on the board. What did I do wrong?
Yeah, so Rick, that, what happens is again, at least you tried it. Don't give up from there. I would recommend doing a tool first of some kind, even if it's a free one, and have people chat about it. Or I'll give another example. Have everybody purchase The 5 Behaviors of a Dysfunctional Team by Patrick Lencioni. Read chapter 1 and 2, and then together talk about it. Debrief it together. Just chapter 1 and 2.
But it's
then go to chapter 3 and 4.
But it's soft skills. I don't want to do that. I'm a developer. I don't got time for that. This is the kind of stuff I'm getting. I need some advice. Well, it's fluffy stuff. We got to just deliver. We got no time for this, stuff. How is this really helping us deliver?
We started to measure teams in this going back a while back, and we started to measure individuals and teams, and we're knowing that about 90 it's close to 90 hours per person per year is saved when you become vulnerable and build trust. But it starts with self. That's why the title, First Lead Yourself. You got to do it for you first to get that money, because the company's going to make money. Companies that invest in this kind of activity, while they may seem like it's backing up a little bit, it's actually skyrocketing forward. One of our clients, and he's not afraid to let, he gave me permission and I could share it, the company's name. Wayne Huizinga Jr. is one of our clients, and they own a place called Rybovich, and it's where boats of the rich and famous, they dock their mega boats at Rybovich in Palm Beach. And what happens is he wanted to have outstanding customer service, the best that there ever could be. And because of things not being as open and as vulnerable with each other and as trusting with each other, they weren't getting the processes and methods in place as good as they could have if people were sharing and putting in their accountability in order to close those process gaps that existed. So because they've done that, it's an unbelievable, miraculous turnaround of how the organization is now known for this unbelievable customer service. And so much so that people that have gone and come back have said, "What did you do?" And what they did is, there was no malintent by management. There was no malintent by the leader of the project managers or the leader of the organization or the leader of the company. There was nothing that was mysterious going on. But what happened is the dialogue was created, the self-reflection for each person, because it's everyone's accountability. So Rick, when you say there's no time, if you keep doing the same thing, and I hear you, because I hear that a lot, what you just said, and you're probably parroting what you hear from the leaders. If they don't invest the time now, it's not going to get any better, because these muscles don't get better on their own. So people hold grudges. People get afraid. And you can measure the fear and measure the grudges, because there's assessments that go along with this, but you know that they're there without even measuring them. But there are measurements that show you what's there, and what it does is it holds back the culture and keeps limiting beliefs, not liberating beliefs, in force. I hope so Rick, you started, have them read it, The 5 Behaviors of a Dysfunctional Team. Yes, it's going to be painful. Discuss the first 2 chapters. Do it with the leadership team. With the auspices that they're going to build hours and hours and hours of time back, because they're doing it for a reason. The reason is either productivity, customer service, and it wouldn't be bad to identify the reason you're doing it, so that you can get the accountability and the results where you want it to go. Because once you start having healthy conflict, you'll have a commitment to each other that you're going to the same place. We're going to win whatever it is, whether we're going to create an innovative environment, agile environment, which I know you work heavily with, or we're going to be accountable to each other to it, and we're going to commit to each other, and we're going to get those results. So these muscles get built over time based on doing a series of purposeful actions. Does it make sense, Rick, that what I'm saying here?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
So there's also a book that you can purchase. It's Undoing the 5 Behaviors of a Dysfunctional Team. We'd love for you to hire People Tech, but you don't have to. You could go and you could read this book, read Undoing the 5 Behaviors of a Dysfunctional Team. It's called Overcoming the 5 Behaviors. You could read that book and it gives the whole process right in there.
I think what's funny is just the naming of it is pretty interesting. Dysfunction. You're coming into my company and you're calling us that we have a dysfunction. That kind of hurt my entry level into helping that group out.
Well, that's why they renamed it. I'll be open with you. It's not, you can't buy this book, but our vendor partner with Patrick Lencioni, who wrote the book, created a process that's the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team. It's based on this book. This book is still a #1 bestseller years and years. It's been out for 20 years. But 5 behaviors of a cohesive team, they relabeled it so that you can't go buy the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team book because it's a process that you have to get through a vendor partner like us. But the issue is they felt the same thing, that some people got turned off because of the word dysfunctional, because technically we all have to be better and better and better. So when they relabeled it the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team, it makes it sound so much better. It's still the same 5 behaviors: trust, conflict, commitment, accountability, results. But if you sit with an absence of trust, a fear of conflict, a lack of commitment, avoidance of account, you're really going to have a team that, and you can actually measure where your team is as compared to teams all over the world in those 5 cohesive areas. Any more questions? Great questions coming up, though.
Anybody else have a question? Raise your hand.
RM has a question.
RM, go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to share a funny story about us implementing this project in this area. We had to organize, kind of like, do a full overhaul of the area. And as we were organizing shelves and, where things are, we actually found that book behind a lot of stuff, that precise book. And we just laughed for like 20 minutes. We're trying to fix these things, and lo and behold, the book is like right there, all dusty, behind all the stuff that we're trying to fix. The 5 dysfunctions of a team. So I got the book. I haven't read it, but funny story.
If you have any questions on it, don't hesitate to ask. I encourage. When did you find it?
That was probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
There's no coincidences that you found it. So read it. I encourage you to. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and send an email to me.
Thank
Anyone
you.
else has a question? Anyone else?
So,
go ahead, Mike.
Any more questions?
I don't know. I can't tell.
No, we're good.
Okay, go ahead.
Actually, I do.
Go ahead, Saba.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so we're going through times right now where not necessarily on the job, where because of this whole situation, we feel like so out of control in so many different areas of our lives. And us as project managers, of course, we kind of like an element of control. My question to you is, at the end of my day, how do I concentrate on what I did get done versus beating myself up about all the things that I did not get done?
Yeah, because beating yourself up, we are our own hardest critic. And so what you're doing is you're torturing yourself because there was something on the list that you were supposed to have happen that didn't happen. And there's so many techniques for you to use, number one, because you're under tremendous stress to get all of these things done. And I'm not saying that you'll get any less done, but what you do need to start with on yourself and your belief system, not about getting things done, because you're task oriented. As project managers, we want to achieve, we want to excel. However, we also have to have boundaries. And stress builds upon other stress. So we're all kind of going through like a post-traumatic stress time now, where it's building on the stressors of the previous 2 months. And unless we have methods to care for ourselves in a healthy, honoring manner, because there's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, we have all these different components that need to be taken care of. And to Rick's point, how do we become vulnerable? How do we take the time for it? Each one of us has to have certain boundaries around things and our outlook about what we got done, what we didn't get done. What did we prioritize as an emergency? What is an item that is critical that has to be in green? What is something that could be a little bit lower in yellow? And what is something that we could stop? And we have to be able to triage and prioritize that. But if we're in stress and we're so much what's called in the grip, we end up going to behavior that, again, is our strengths overused generally, and it's called in the grip. So, for example, our nervous energy gets even heightened even more. Well, that's a process of working on yourself. Some techniques that I've been using over the last few years, because I'm not immune to it as well, but one of the techniques is physical exercise. If you're not getting your physical exercise, I suggest that you re-implement it, even if it's 20 minutes a day, a 20-minute walk outside, preferably, because it's good to be in the fresh air. So if you can run or do light exercises, stretching, you must start with physical. Or it doesn't have to start with physical, but physical has to be some component of it. The next component that I find is powerful beyond belief for things like that, and in terms of beating ourselves up, is meditation. And meditation is a mental technique and an emotional technique to calm the mind. Whether you do guided meditation or just breathing meditation, it is not hokey pokey, okay? It is the most powerful leadership thing you can give yourself, is to meditate. Another area that when they measured my limiting beliefs and my liberating beliefs, one of my weakest areas in my limiting beliefs, because I used a tool to measure this, was my gratefulness. So my coach had me go out and get a gratefulness, and I don't know if you could see this, a gratefulness journal. You can Google it, it's about $6. It's called the Gratefulness Journal. It's 5 minutes a day to develop gratitude, because you think gratitude isn't part of a team, but it is. It's part of everything that we do in the roles that we lead as project managers. So all of these components and others together will help you start to observe what's creating you to go into the grip to beat yourself up and to torture yourself because a task was missed. Now, I'm not saying that it wasn't a priority, because once you set your vision, your mission, your goals, and your measures in place, you need to prioritize your tasks to go along with that. So that's another area. What is your intention? What is your vision, your mission, your goals on a personal basis and on a business basis? And are you nurturing yourself on a personal basis the way that you need to be? I don't know if that answers some of your question. It's a complex question, because it requires probably us to have discussion privately, potentially.
You touched upon some really good points. Thank you so much. But yes, there is definitely a lot of room for improvement there.
We all do, including me. But you're just the admission and the talking about it here is, again, the vulnerability, because if you're struggling with it, I guarantee everybody in the company is struggling, or other people are as well. So you're not alone.
Mike,
yes.
Mike, this is Francisco.
Yes, Francisco.
I just want to offer a slightly different perspective, right? The vulnerability that we're talking about here is about being present, that we're all in it together. I mean, if you examine what the pandemic have done, among a lot of things, it has exposed our civilization vulnerability at large.
Yes.
Our invitation here is to explore leadership development. Sorry?
I didn't hear that. Somebody was talking.
Go ahead, Francisco. It must have been a background. Continue.
Okay.
Exploring, our invitation here is to explore leadership development as a roadmap, when I look at it that way. There is concepts that right now, from what has been happening, could be quite useful. And as a mindfulness teacher and coach, I can share with you that developing leadership presence is a concept that you can read about, and there's so many ways that you can spin that conversation. But by being present at large is being mindful and being present with ourselves and understand all potential vulnerability when we're missing deadlines or worries and stress and fears associated with judgments and opinions of others on our ability to do the work is a conversation that you have through a leadership program, through coaching, so that you become present. One concept that you can explore out there is called radical acceptance. Radical acceptance speak about what has taken place in the past cannot be changed. But when there is acceptance, you cannot change the past, there is a level of peace that emerge, and therefore opportunities. Same thing when it comes with fear of potential events that, you know, we face it here in South Florida quite often with the hurricanes. So a concept, a mindfulness concept, a leadership presence development program that involves radical acceptance can also help you be present with the now. And tools like meditation and breathing and others can help you learn how to be present with the now, as to what's important and what's not important. And I think that with that, I just turn it back to Mike, unless there's a question for me.
Francisco, thank you. Yes, that is definitely, and all of these things tie to each other, and it's decisions. Again, it goes back to the decision that you make, that you want to explore these areas. And just asking that question, I guarantee 50% of the group on the phone here has the same issues. So, and Francisco, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Rick, it says 2 people have their hands raised. I don't know if that's from the past. I don't know. Okay.
Hello, do you guys hear me?
Now we can. Who is it?
Yes, hello. Yes, this is Ida.
Ida.
I just wanted to comment a little bit on the previous question. All the things you said, they're great, and I definitely practice them. Now, also in a more logistical also way, one of the things that have helped me quite a bit into, because I'm also a 1, 2, 3, get it done. What did I do? What didn't I do? Long time ago, I took a class from Franklin Covey on time management.
Nice.
And one of the things that really helped me is like write down all the things that I want to get done on a daily basis, and then assign a time to each that I think is going to take, because that really drives you to realize the day only has 8 hours, but you're planning 13 or 14 hours, right? And then after you do that, you take out whatever time you're going to spend in meetings. So that's less hour that you have to really get done what you need to get done. And then all the tasks that you wrote, you had to say must get done today, you know, should get done today, or nice if it gets done today. So then you know which ones you have to get done first thing as soon as you can, and then anything else you can, you know, transfer to the next days. and then look back and say how much time each one actually took you. So if you think one thing was only going to take an hour, but it took you 3 hours, then go ahead and adjust it. Write it in your calendar, and that's why you know why you didn't get the other 14 things done, right? So just sharing that.
No, Ida, thank you so much for sharing these. You know, what's powerful about it is just the ability that somebody became vulnerable and asked the question creates this kind of discussion. I encourage you to go back and do it with your teams. These are the kind of things, you guys have all these answers. And, you know, the techniques that Francisco talked about, the techniques that Ida just brought up, the techniques that they're all out there. It's just, again, building those muscles over time. If you go in tomorrow and you do the same thing you did today, those muscles probably aren't going to get built unless you're building these muscles. And to Rick's point, well, we don't have time. Everything's getting in it. We're technical. We got to get this thing done. Rick brought up a great point. All of those are things that are excuses that get in the way. And yes, there are people that, you know, you're going to have to empower yourself to stand up and say, you know what, in the long run, it's going to benefit us to do this. We're all going to be more engaged. We're all going to feel better. We're all going to have better results. And you got to prove that. And it comes back, believe me, tenfold. So again, it's how you see yourself. You are your most important asset. There's no one that's going to do this for you. That's what the mysterious thing about leadership is, that we all have the ability to decide how we're going to do it or if we're going to do it. That's why a lot of my friends argue with me that not everyone is a leader, but I'll argue till my head falls off that everyone is a leader. Because even if your behavior is that you're not leading, you're giving impressions to people that you're leaving that might influence them to not demonstrate their leadership. So I encourage you to take a risk, step into an uncomfort zone. No one loves going to a gym. No one. I haven't met them yet. I mean, they may say, yo, I love doing 100 burpees, or I love doing, doing CrossFit. And that's where I go. I climb ropes and do all these things and miss it over the last couple of months. So I've had to do my own workouts. But the bottom line is, I wouldn't say that I'm looking forward to tomorrow's workout of the day. You know, I know I got to do it, and I know I love it, but I know I'm not looking forward to doing it. And it's the same thing with this kind of work. No one loves reading about the 5 dysfunctions, but once you start doing it and doing some of the things that Francisco mentioned, or some of the meditation, some of the other things, all of a sudden you start saying, you know what, it's not so bad. It's pretty good. It actually feels good. Any thoughts? Any questions before I?
Yeah, I had a comment.
Sure.
This is Jose Torres.
Hey, Jose.
Hello. I mean, I think, people, sometimes depending on the audience, I jokingly say, hey, people have to get over themselves, right? And really be genuine. What happens sometimes is that people have hidden agendas, right? And they pretend to be somebody that they're not. And team members are able to see through that.
Yes.
Okay, people are able to see through that when you're not a genuine leader, right? And genuine leader not only mean organizing and getting things done at work, but also caring for the human being that is represented in that team member. If as a leader you only care, and we have a job to do, we get paid to do that, and we have to keep the team focused on that. But if we lose track of the human being, the human element of every individual team member, then we're not really genuine, right? Then we're focusing on, we're using people to get something accomplished instead of collaborating with people toward a common goal, okay? So just wanted to share that.
No. You're hitting something so critical because it's a value system. You can say you value people until your head falls off, but until you put your money, your resources, your energy, your time, and start allocating your time towards what you say you value, you're saying one thing and doing another. And to your point, people pick up on it right away. If you believe in developing people, you put your money, your energy into developing people. If you believe in developing yourself, you invest in yourself and you put time into yourself. And that is all aspects of being holistic and a well-rounded individual. And so to your point, people see through it when there are hidden agendas. I was doing we always go in and do assessments with teams, and somebody said, everybody knew it but me. Why didn't I know it? And they wouldn't share it with them. They wouldn't share it. This is what was going on because they were afraid. And, you know, Francisco mentioned fear before. Fear, there's so many fears and insecurities, and the only way successful companies understand this is to reduce the amount of fear that's going through there, because they actually are aligning all of the resources to the values that they say are so important. So if you say customers are important, people are important, process is important, tools are important, well, how do we start putting and aligning all of our assets towards that? And how do we measure it, really measure it? Because it's not whether people are just happy, because what is our real belief systems on how we have to show up in this culture? How do we show up in the corporate cultures that we work in? And are we measuring how we show up there? So some great conversation here. Again, I want you to take away one thing that you can change starting today. If you could just jot that down on a pen, with a pen or a pencil next to you, whether it's read a book. There were several mentioned here. Somebody, Ada mentioned, I think, Stephen Covey. Francisco mentioned a few things. I mentioned there, 5 behaviors, but there's many others. Marshall Goldsmith, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Fabulous book, because we think because of our past successes, it's going to work again. And that's true to a point, but at what point does that stop? So there are just so many different things to work with and to implement. But one thing that's good is it starts today, and we can implement something each week, each day, even if it's 15 minutes. I wish you all the best on your journeys. And we put a weekly leadership tip out that's free. It comes out every Thursday. You could practice with those exercises. Past ones are out on the website, peopletechcoaching.com. So we would love you to follow us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's free videos out there, things you could practice, and we'd love to get your feedback, what's working and what's not working. And I thank you so much for having us today.
Great job, Mike. Thank you very much, guys. So I'm applauding here. I know everybody don't get out of mute, because then it'll be but we want to make sure we cover a couple things before we let the team grow. Remember, there's PDUs. So please make sure, if you're interested in your PDU, your job is in the chat channel. Make sure you type in your name, your full name, because we got our members from the PMI verifying that you took this course. And the only way to do that is by actually going ahead and put your full name. Go ahead and put PMP next to it. That way we can make sure that your name. But remember, it's very clear. You were supposed to register at the South Florida PMI website first, right? Once you register, they would get that list, cross-reference it, and then submit it. If for some reason you did not register, understand that getting your PDUs, it's, you know, it's an honor system, right? So you can actually go on the website and go where it's listed, and you can actually go ahead and submit that manually. So the South Florida PMI is here to help you. Great job, Mike, on this.
Thank you, Rick.
Great start. Now understand that we're doing this on a weekly basis. Our next event, just so you understand, is all about interviewing. There's a lot of us out there, again, still struggling to find a job. And what we're going to do is we're going to do some kind of interviewing skills you're going to learn. And it's going to be real role playing. So you're going to see an actual interview, 3 interviews taking place. And then we'll tell you behind the scenes what the actual interviewer is thinking about. So it's going to be very interactive, where you guys are going to be able to share your thoughts on what you think went well and what you think it didn't go well. So very interactive session. Please join us next week. Make sure you register quick, because it's going to be pretty packed on this one. We had a great group. I think we had over maybe 180 people out there on the bridge. I saw a lot. So again, excellent job. Mike, how would you like to end this? What is the final thing that you would like to say to end this event?
I just want to say again, I appreciate everybody's open questions and sincere energy and showing up and being here tonight. I thank Francisco, thank you, thank Ed and Connie and Natalia, all the team that helped me get this thing all ready. I just want to leave everybody with, please start something tomorrow. Don't wait until the day after. Start something new tomorrow and make that decision, and that'll make my heart sing.
Love it. Remember, we're recording this, so we should have that up in the PMI website soon. And we have all the recordings of every week that we've actually had this event. So thank you again for joining us. It was a great time, and have a pleasant night. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Woo. Mike, great job, Mike.
Thanks, Rick. I'll talk to you soon. I'll talk to you guys this week. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for helping out, Francisco. Great job.
Yeah, Francisco, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ed, great job in helping with the chat.
Thanks, Ed.
Jean-Luc, if you're around, great job in the beginning. Everyone else, thank you for joining us. We'll catch you next week. Don't miss next week.
Yeah, interviewing sounds, it's very good.
It's going to be fun. There's a lot of interesting role play in there.
Yeah, I think I'm going to join too. Have a good night, guys.
Awesome, Francisco. Great job. Nice to see you.
Thank you, guys.
Or your
Talk to
picture,
everybody.
Francisco.
You're welcome.
Bye.
All right. Thank you, Ron, for joining us. Cheek, thanks. Have a great night. Be safe out there. Natalie, thank you. Jim, Edgar, Mark.
Wow, so cool.
There's a lot of people here.
Great group.
Yes.
Great group. It really is exciting, the energy you guys have created. Great abundance.
Good people, good speakers. What more can we ask for? Maybe a drink or something.
Yeah, yeah. I was looking at my last picture. Everybody's out there drinking. That doesn't happen yet.
Yes, yes.
I'll talk to you, Rick. Thank you.
All right, take care. Thank you, Mike. Have
Bye.
a good night.
You too.
If anybody else is having any questions,